Who remembers that time last year where I was all, I'm gonna buy lights for my YouTube channel so that in the winter months I don't have to film in the dark. I still don't have them. Hi guys, and welcome to my review of Once Upon a Time episode 603, The Other Shoe. Now before we begin, I'm pretty sure that most of you who have watched my videos before, or anyone who has ever looked at my Twitter account, will be able to tell that I had extremely positive feelings about this episode. Now the thing is, the interesting thing about this is, you would have thought that having watched most of the Captain Swan scenes in advance, because people who'd been at New York Comic Con had been posting them, so I had seen the before I can't even begin with this. The Kelly and Alexandra scene with the cream on the nose and Emma watching. So many feelings about that. I'd seen that scene and I had obviously seen the move in with me scene. So I'd seen these in advance. I had watched these like so many times over the weekend. So since Friday I had seen them already. So you would have thought that it probably wouldn't have had like as huge an impact on me watching it like in the course of the episode as it did. But never underestimate my Captain Swan feels. This is what I keep telling myself. Before I spend most of my time raving about the joy of that, I just want to say that overall, in terms of things that were not Captain Swan related, but just the overall story of this episode, I really enjoyed it. I liked having Cinderella back, but I'll just start at the start of the episode because it's the best place to start. Guys, things are just getting so good. It's funny because I look back at like when they met and I kind of think back to how far they've think over how far they've come, and I'm just filled with so much joy. Honestly, this story, I kind of feel like I want to make a separate video about this because I don't want this to obviously be just focused on this. This is a review of the overall episode. But at the same time, I try and stay away from the negative side of Twitter in terms of the fandom because there's a very negative side, and I try not to kind of engage with any of that. But I did look at a few tweets the other day, like anti-CS tweets, and I was just like, oh, these just make me sad, and just, it's strange because it's just such a completely and utterly different interpretation of the storyline to what I have, that I look at it and I'm kind of like, I don't know how we can be watching the same programme. And the way that I see it is, I feel like anyone should be able to ship whoever they want, canon or not. You should be able to be, you know, pro whatever pairing you like. Whether or not it's ever likely to happen in real life, you should be able to enjoy watching interactions between whoever you want, and if you so desire, go off and, you know, write your own fan fiction and create fan videos based around whatever characters you want. But when it turns nasty and it turns into this really vicious, like, people pitting like one part of the fandom against the other and blaming people, and there then turns into there's like a whole like really dangerous homophobic and racist issue going on within the fandom in terms of the kind of Swan Queen versus Captain Swan scenario, and so there's a lot of negativity that I tend to just stay away from. And I think also because of that, it sometimes makes me wary of like posting, no it doesn't, that's a lie, I was about to say posting a lot of pro Captain Swan stuff, which it doesn't, that's nonsense, but it makes me kind of think, oh, maybe I shouldn't like go on about them too much. But then I think, do you know what? No, this is part of my experience of this show, and this is how I'm experiencing it. And I'm so sorry, this has turned into like a totally not connected to this episode rant, but this is how I'm experiencing this show. This is a story and a relationship and a set of characters that's incredibly important to me, and I feel is very representative of an important relationship, which is something again that I want to talk about in another video about Emma Swan as a character in general, which I started off like trying to plan, and honestly this has turned into like basically a dissertation. Like the research that has gone into this video has gone way past like a video about Emma Swan as a character. This has become a full-blown like feminist dissertation, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, anyway, moving aside from that, the opening sort of scene, or the sort of early scene in Granny's, where we've got Emma and Kelly sitting having breakfast and Henry comes in to join them, and Henry's up to his kind of good old author tricks again, and he's trying to figure out who everyone is. And I like this, I like that Henry's got this sort of magical purpose since he's become the author, and that his go-to thing from the beginning was that storybook from season 1, from the first episode. That book was such an important part of Henry's life and Henry's journey, and I love that he is now able to like be an integral part of that book, if that makes sense. His relationship with that book has developed so much over these years, and now he's getting to kind of help people find their stories and fix their stories, and I think that's lovely. I loved him joining like Emma and Kelly and sort of at the table, and there was just so many like little like Captain Swan Jones family vibes in this episode that I enjoyed a lot. I love that all of them, and that includes like Snow and Charming and Regina, and to an extent maybe further down the track Zelina, have formed this little unit. I just think it's very cute. I love that, and like him interacting with that baby, just I don't even know what to say about that, other than the fact that it was probably the most adorable thing that I've ever seen in the show that has ever happened. And what was most important about it was obviously watching Emma watch him and see that because you've never been sure, well I've never been sure that she is going to want to have more children, given what happened with Henry and what happened with her own childhood and stuff. I don't know, it's obviously something that's never come up within the actual storyline, but I never was 100% sure how she was going to feel about that. She's got so many issues and so many walls that even getting into a relationship with someone was a challenge, never mind like the whole marriage and babies side of things. So I wasn't sure if that was a road she was going to want to go down. But watching her watch him was just seeing her like see how adorable he was and seeing him interact with that kid, and you got that feeling that she was kind of looking into the future for what he might want for his future, and realising that if she's going to die at some point soon, she's not going to be able to give him that. And it's just so unfair after everything that they've been through in the underworld and everything that she did to get him back. If she's going to die now, it just seems so incredibly unfair. I'm loving the Emma and Archie stuff. I'm so glad that Archie's back. I really like him as a character. I think he's great. And I really like the scenes with her talking to him. I feel like with each episode, we've only had 3 so far, but I feel like with each, it's just really nice to see how much more comfortable she's getting in each episode discussing this stuff with him. So I think that that's really nice, and I think it's evidently helping. Kind of love that she just went in and interrupted Leroy's session, which I felt like when he walked out, I almost felt like Archie was going to be like, thank you so much, and then I was like, no, he's a professional. I know this is a fictional show, but he's behaving in a professional manner. So I like that. I thought that that was great. Love that Tim Phillips was back. Tim Phillips, who plays Thomas, who's Ashley's boyfriend slash fiance, husband, can't remember at this point, but the father of Alexandra, he was Daniel in Neighbours. I don't know if anyone has watched Neighbours or does watch Neighbours or knows who Daniel Robinson is, but he was Daniel for ages. So it was really nice to see him back. I always like seeing people, like familiar faces who you haven't seen for a while, popping up. I also loved that Dr. Whale was back, just for like it was just like a 2-minute scene, but I loved that he was back. I really love the idea of him and Jekyll like running the high school science department together. Like, it's the most ridiculous high school teaching scenario I've ever heard in my life, but I kind of love it. I also I really enjoy David Anders as an actor. Does anyone watch iZombie? Has anyone been watching iZombie? Let me know in the comments down below if you do. He is just like so good in iZombie. That now it's weird because I'm now more used to, well, more recently I'm more used to seeing him in iZombie than I am in Once Upon a Time, so I'm thinking of his character more along the lines of his iZombie character. If that makes sense and you agree, let me know in the comments down below, but I think that that's kind of interesting. I love that Snow kind of wants to get back to teaching. I think that that makes a lot of sense, and I love that conversation between her and Charming about what is normal, and will they ever get like a normal life? Will they ever get to just, you know, raise their son and spend time with their daughter and have like normal working lives, him as the sheriff, her as a school teacher, living a normal life. I really liked that. I thought that was a nice moment, because it's so true. They must be exhausted all the time. The Charming dad stuff, I knew that he wasn't going to be able to resist. I knew that he was going to go and speak to Gold and figure out what was going on, or at least try and figure out what's going on. If you watched my video a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that I have this horrible, terrible fear that Kelly is somehow involved in this. Still don't know about that. I think I might have just jumped to very rash conclusions there, but yeah, I have a horrible feeling about this. I felt for Belle. I felt for Charming as well, because obviously, you know, he's desperate for information, but you never make a deal with Rumpelstiltskin, ever. Now, this was obviously not too bad a deal. It was really just, can you pass this on? But making deals with Rumpelstiltskin is always a terrible idea, no matter what the scenario is. Like, you just don't do it. I love that Belle is living on the Jolly Roger. I think that's sweet and just provides hopefully more nice interaction for her and Kelly. I like that scene where he was talking to Ashley and he sort of said, oh, we're taking things slow and I'm still living on, you know, the ship next to a pregnant woman who likes to snore. which I was watching Jake and Jossel's live stream. I've not managed to watch all of it yet, but I was watching a bit, and Jossel was talking about how ridiculous it is that he's living with Belle before he's living with Emma, which is quite ridiculous, but I like their friendship and I want it to kind of grow and develop and like in a purely platonic way, obviously, but yeah, I think that's sweet. The Cinderella stuff I liked. I really enjoyed the flashbacks. I enjoyed seeing her at the ball and the glass slipper and all those kind of moments, which are just very, very iconic. I always enjoy seeing them. This whole episode just made me feel like I needed it because I'd had kind of a rubbish day, and that whole episode just made me feel like, you know, that feeling of just like, oh, this is just like, it's cheesy, but it's the sweetest, cutest thing that just makes me want to like curl up in a ball. I've talked about how I have that feeling before, it's so strange. But I spent like the whole episode just like, oh, so cute. So I really enjoyed that. I like the connection of Cinderella to the Land of Untold Stories, because I was confused about that, because when they were talking about the fact this episode was about Cinderella, and I was like, but she wasn't in the Land of Untold Stories, she was in Storybrooke, so how is that going to work? And I really liked that it was her, you know, the wicked stepmother and her stepsister who were in the Land of Untold Stories, and it was their stories that were going to kind of play out once they were in Storybrooke. I liked, now I'm just going to move on because I've talked briefly about that stuff. I loved the Emma, Kelly and Henry saving the day, or trying to save the day situation. I loved that sort of flashback feeling to those conversations between Emma and Ashley about how to kind of be strong and be yourself and show people who you really are. I always thought that was such a great speech. It's one of my favourite Emma Swan moments from season 1, and so I loved the kind of throwback to that, and seeing them interact again I thought was really nice. But I liked that obviously I don't like that she's having problems, but I like that this provided an opportunity for Kelly and Henry to actually see how much she's actually struggling, and see her try to stop Ashley from getting away and not being able to do it, and her handshaking. And I really liked that he just gave her a hug, and he didn't kind of be like, you lied to me, what's going on, you said that you were fine. He was just very much like, come on, I'll give you a hug and you can talk to me about it later. I enjoyed that. I like that there's not any sort of element of like pressure of like, you have to tell me the truth, because he knows that she'll do it in her own time. So I really liked that. Loved the interaction between the three of them and the evil queen. She's just, like, it's terrible because she's awful, and because she doesn't have that Regina side to her, she doesn't have a conscience, and she doesn't, well, I don't think she has a conscience anyway, but she doesn't have any sort of feelings of remorse or should I or should I not do this. She just says what she thinks. And I liked that discussion with Henry of like, oh, but I raised you and I was the one who was there for you and raised you and, you know, sent you off to school and all that. Because he talked about that at Comic Con, about how really it was the evil queen who raised Henry for the first 10 years of his life. So that's a pretty significant relationship that Henry wants to obviously deny, because obviously it's Regina who his loyalty lies with, but it's a complicated issue there. So I like that, and I like that that was referenced. I loved when she kind of sent them off to the middle of nowhere, and Emma was sitting on the ground and they were standing having the conversation about what to do next and how to get back, and they were kind of encouraging her to think back to when she was a bail bonds person and what would she have done and how would she have found them without magic, which I thought was nice, them kind of encouraging her to kind of remind her that she didn't need magic before to be good at what she did. So I like that. I also really liked the little, like, I don't know why I like this so much, but when the three of them were trying to remember what the stepsister's name was, I loved that they were all just like hitting out with names that vaguely sounded like that. I thought that was cute. I really like that they kind of made the twist that it was that the stepsister actually wanted to run off with the footman or whatever he was, and that sort of slightly improved relationship between Cinderella and her sister, and then sort of rediscovering that once they came back from the Land of Untold Stories and the stepmother was trying to kill her. I liked that, and I thought that that was just a nice twist on the kind of traditional story. They always like to do that, throw you unexpected twists and turns, so I thought that was a nice way of doing it. And I was so glad that when Ashley was obviously hurt and bleeding, you could see that it was still an incredible struggle, but that Emma managed to put her back together and, you know, get her home safe to her child in one piece. And just that look of kind of relief from, and then like the hug with Henry and the hug with Kelly when she'd managed to do it, I was just like, oh, I'm so proud. I feel pride, which just seems ridiculous for a fictional character, but I don't care. And then of course we got like the mother of all wonderful scenes, the move in with me scene. I honestly, I think I had one of these like sort of daft things where when they got back from the underworld, I just kind of automatically assumed that they would be living together, because I was like, well, he picked out the house and she then, that's one thing I don't understand. How did she get the house? Because she was the dark one when she got the house, so I'm assuming she didn't, well, did she buy it, or do you just move into places in Storybrooke? Do you need to pay? I don't know, I wondered about that, but that's me reading far too much into these things. But I don't know, I think I just kind of assumed that like they would just like live together and it would be fine. But I really love that that was addressed as like, okay, like in this huge time of crisis where we were both dark ones and one of us was dead and the other was coming to the underworld to save the other and it was all complicated, we were like, let's live together. And then, you know, they're back to reality. And as far as he's concerned, like normality, she's obviously got a lot of other issues with these visions, but as far as he's concerned, this is them like starting their lives together. And it's suddenly that kind of awkward, oh, hold on a minute, kind of like how she always says that I love you at a time when someone's about to die. Like she's having to learn to kind of be more open with that. That's like a conversation that's quite a vulnerable conversation, and they've had it at a really like a time of crisis, but in a time of normality neither one's been quite brave enough to be the one to say it first. So I like that. I like that she discussed it with Archie and was like, we both want to live together, we should be doing it. I'm holding back because I'm, you know, stressed about the potential death. So as I say, I had seen it like so many times before, but just seeing it within the context of the episode was just lovely. I just love everything about that scene. This is a scene that I will go back and watch many, many times. I know I will, I already have, and there are certain scenes, I mean, I've watched most of the Captain Swan story a lot, but there's certain scenes that I just always know that I will go back and watch a lot, and this is definitely one of them. It's so cute, and now that they've kind of officially talked about it and it's happening, I'm just really looking forward to seeing like scenes of him moving in, and it's not going to be smooth sailing obviously, but seeing him move in and just like a few little like normal domestic scenes. I've been saying this for about 2 years, this is all I want in my life, is just like a normal scene where they have a normal meal together or cuddle up on the couch and you see like for 5 minutes they get some peace and quiet. So hoping for that at some point. Just remembered the early scene with Regina and Snow and Charming going to visit Hyde and Regina taking her lasagna and being like, ha, this will make him talk, and then realising like the Evil Queen's beating her to it with something that seems as mundane as bringing him a meal, which I thought was quite fun. I liked the Regina and Zelina scene, and I liked Regina realising that it would be Zelina that the Evil Queen would target, in terms of like when they were saying you've got to think about it, how would she be going about this, and she's thinking, well, she would go to the cracks that are already there and try and deepen them, and she realises that the kind of weak link obviously is Zelina. And I really enjoyed that kind of realisation for her, and going to Zelina to talk about it and realising, seeing the rattle in the baby's crib and realising she's definitely been there. I think there's a lot more interesting stuff to come in terms of the relationship between these three. So Zelina's relationship with kind of each half of her sister, I think has a lot of potential to be really good. So that's it. I think that I have sufficiently covered everything. I'm going to leave it there before I spend the rest of the evening talking about my Captain Swan feels, because I could probably do that. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. How did you feel about the Cinderella storyline, and what are you thinking in terms of Captain Swan living arrangements, the Rumbell dramas, Regina and Zelina interactions, anything that you've got thoughts on, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait for the next episode, and I will be back then. So if you want to catch up with any of my other reviews or make sure that you see the next one, do remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up to let me know. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye! For the past like 10 minutes, I've been aware that there's been hair in my eye. I haven't wanted to move it, and I've now just looked at the screen and it's been like in a really annoying position, like just over my eye, so apologies for that. Speak to you soon.